All right, guys, we're doing our podcast tonight. It's the three amigos, the three C's of destruction here. So we got Colin, Corey, and myself, and then we're getting together tonight to discuss what we talked about last week. But we're going to talk about some current events and stuff too. So, how you doing today, Corey?
I'm doing good. It's been a relaxing day. Went to the New Mexico State Fair and got to hang out with kids, my kids, and poke fun of them. They poked fun of me, and got to pet some barnyard animals. Uh, got to see a dog show, which was a little bit depressing, but yet we got to see it for free.
Hey, was there also a pony show at the same time?
Somewhere.
Because, dog and pony show.
Yep, but it wasn't there.
That went over my head. I was like, oh yeah, dog and pony. Good job. I like that.
And then
Got to see a bunch of VWs.
You got to see a bunch of what?
VWs, Volkswagen Bugs. Yeah, old ones, 1970s, 1960s. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, my first car was a Volkswagen.
Sounds very German.
Yeah, very German. Very, very German. Yeah.
How are you doing, Colin?
I'm good. Did some work today, then hung out with the family. My sister's in town with her husband and their new child, so that was really cool. We got some ramen.
Oh, how's Sammy doing anyways?
She's a good mama. I'm really proud of her. She's doing a good job.
Well, I helped train her a little bit. She really learned how to bust my balls. So.
Yeah. No, I know. No, yeah. Try. I know. But she's. We never really got along too much growing up, but now as we're adults, I think there's so much mutual respect now. It's really nice. It's very cathartic because I never liked the fact, and I know she didn't either, that we didn't have a great relationship growing up. It was just personality. It wasn't anything bad. It was just personality differences, and kids are kids. But now as we're adults, it's like we both have kids. It's like, wow, you're mom, I'm dad. It's a totally different dynamic. It's really nice. So I like it.
Well, yeah. Your perspective changes, and that changes your interaction.
Totally, yeah.
Didn't she get her? Last time I saw her, she was working on her nursing degree.
No, she's a nurse. Yeah. No,
yeah.
She's she married a prison guard who he's applying for a management position, but he's amazing. He's the best guy ever. Like he's the kindest. You couldn't ask for a better brother-in-law. He's so good. Big heart. He's a giant. He's like 5 inches taller than I am.
I saw the family photo last year from your grandma.
Yeah.
And there's like this one tall, huge guy.
Yeah, he's like 7 feet. It's crazy.
I'm like, that has. And then your sister's like on his arm, so I'm like, I guess that's her guy.
Yeah, Shane.
So, how was your day? Looks like you're drinking some energy drink. You must be burning the midnight oil.
I'm a little tired.
Yeah, I see that.
I've been working. I've been working nonstop through the weekends for the last several months. Really, I mean, I get a day off here and there, but and then the kids wake up throughout the night, so it's 3 to 4 hours of sleep at best. So it's starting to weigh a little bit, but no, I'm all right.
Yeah, you're young once, man. Then when you get to Cody's age, can't do that anymore.
Oh.
My age, dude, I got all the energy. I still can see things up close, But when you get to Cody's age, shoot, it's all bad. It's all evil.
It's because of these stupid phones that I can't see anything.
Well, put it down every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not clutter this with facts, okay?
So it sounds like things have been good this weekend for you, Colin.
Really good. Yeah. No, I mean it's more of it's been a long, consistent trail of calming down and settling into the reality of being a dad and being a husband again. Not again, but yeah, just I got married 3 years ago, and that was like in the middle of a massive reality collapse, and I did it more of like I felt like God told me to do it, and not that I knew that he told, like I had to do that. And it's been really tough, but it was tough because I had to grow up, and I'm still growing up. And, but, recognizing that about myself, and, honestly, this has helped me a lot. Just kind of even seeing myself and hearing myself talk has helped me see myself, because I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like I forget I have a body. Like it's kind of like, it's like I forget that I'm here sometimes. It's like I'm just in the moment, experience to experience, instead of being grounded in reality. And the kids have really helped bring me back to that. And I'm remembering what it was like when I was a kid. And it's, no, it was a very positive week. I think a lot of, peace came about this week. So yeah,
That's amazing.
But
Cody, top that, man. Let's see you do it. You got this.
yesterday was my daughter's birthday. She turned 3,
I said top it, man.
and I got to zero my rifle. I thought that was great this week. I went to
Yeah.
the range, got some range time in. I haven't done that in a while, and then it was a good week. Got to spend some time with my wife, and good conversations with her. It was a lot of fun, a lot of needed conversations. She's leaving to go out of town tomorrow. She'll be gone for 3 days, which means a lot of diaper and duties while she's gone. And then what's interesting?
By the
is-
way,
Yeah.
hey, you never babysit your own kids
I didn't say that.
because they're your kids.
Yeah.
Remember that. Never babysit your own kids.
I
They're your
had a
kids.
shirt- I had a shirt that dads don't babysit. It's called Parenting. It's what it said on
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. People told me that quite a few times when my kids were younger. Hey, you babysitting your kids? No. These are my kids. I'm their dad. I'm their father. They look like me, so
no, I really enjoy being alone with them. It's honestly, I mean, it's so much fun. I'll have a chance tomorrow. I don't get them very often, but it's great. I love it.
You giving your wife a reprieve, and so she can go do wife things while
Just
you
go get a
yeah.
pedicure with grandma and my sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there the guys coming to your house then?
No, I don't. I think they'll just stay at dad's, so it'll just be me and the girls.
You should
nice.
gather them and go over there.
Or go to the park.
Yeah, there's a park
Wait,
right
it's
down
Texas.
the road. Yeah, it's like 110 outside some days.
It's
Yeah, it's
September. It's
miserable.
not supposed to be like this.
It's like every other year. It's like that. We had an early summer, or a late summer,
Yeah.
I should say. It was really cool and mild. But anyway, now we're talking about the weather. So,
Yep.
what's up?
So-
What's
Well-
going on?
We're all guys over the age of 30, so that's what we're interested in: weather, kids, and
Guns.
guns. Guns.
So, what's caught your radar this week so far? I mean, every week it's like the world changes. So, how's the world
Well,
changed?
Well, I guess we're going to war with Venezuela. That was kind of cool. And then, I guess some chick stole the baseball from my kid.
Yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren stole the baseball.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I'm like, the memes on X are like
Yeah.
nuts. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, Department of War.
Department
Going
of
back to
War,
that.
let's go. Hell yeah.
Well, it
Oh
makes
yeah.
more sense to call it the Department of War because we've never been in a defensive posture.
It's so important. It's in terms of setting the tone. Like they're 100% correct about that. I mean, people have been talking about this forever. That ever
For
since we
what?
turned it to the Department of Defense, it's like that's when we just ended up in a stalemate, like a permanent stalemate with the world, instead of like being focused on where we're going and what we need to get done, and being outcome oriented. So, and yeah, no, I was very happy to see that.
Well, actually, if you want to go back in time, it was called the War Department, not the Department of
Right.
War.
Right. I actually think that sounds better. The War Department.
But it's now www.war.org.
No, war.
Is it really? War.gov? Is it
War.gov.
really?
There we go. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Dude, it's like
Dropping bombs, kicking doors.
But I mean, it's more than that in the sense that, there's this notion called the Eternal War that this guy, E.M. Burlingame, that I really like, has put forward. And anyone that starts going through history, you realize warfare never ends. It's just a continuation of old events, and it rolls over and over and over. And it begs the question to me as to what are the forces behind that and why does that keep happening? And it's not as simple as like they treat wars as if they're like episodes. And it's like you have war, then peace, and it's like, is it like what's the final outcome everyone's trying to aim for? It's hard to say nowadays. Did you see the video that came out with the hot mic with Xi and Putin?
Organs.
Yeah, that was crazy that they put that out there, because I don't believe that was done on accident. When do they have hot mics?
in communist regimes, probably never.
That no
Everyone's
way.
afraid they're going to get killed.
Yeah, there'd be like 1,000 people being strung up right now, and I don't believe that was. I mean, no one. I mean, that's even mainline people are saying they did this on purpose, and they're talking about living forever.
I only saw that briefly because I was in the middle of taking Kylie Phoenix into her thing, but I didn't. I'm like, it was,
You want to watch it because I think this may be the most consequential thing that has happened this year.
yeah, put it on. Let's see what it was.
All right.
Besides the pastor and his secretary getting wrapped up by the FBI and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, shoot, these guys were serious about stealing people's money. Yeah, not God's money.
Well, the guy that was on Sean Ryan this week was talking about that too. He had Bentleys and jets and.
Yeah, he had cars with bows on them, and they weren't cheap cars either. Brand new ones. Red bows, if I remember right. Nice mansion. All right.
Раньше у нас очень редко было старше 70 лет, а сегодня говорят, что 70 лет это еще ребенок.生技代表发展，人类的器官会不断的移植，甚至越活越年轻，甚至会长生不老。因此呢。
There we go. Yeah. Hopefully they translated that correctly.
I'm pretty sure they did. Because this has been something that anyone that's been watching transhumanism and the elites they've been obsessed with this for a long, long time. And it's almost like they're throwing that out there that we're at that moment. So to the other elites around the world, it's like, hey, you don't have to rely on the Western devils for your upgrade. Like, we got it.
It's in your population.
And I mean, the biggest problem that you have for these guys that are in power is how do you maintain it? because the biggest problem with the reason you have dictator rollovers is you get a revolution because of all the crimes that happened or the dictator did to maintain power or keep it and suppress the old stuff. And it's, instead of maintaining that cycle of revolution and overthrow of regime, now you can have singular individuals maintain control for a long time. I mean, for a much longer, and that changes the arc of history. I mean, like Charlie Chaplin has that, that famous speech in The Dictator, where he's like, "As long as men die, tyranny dies." And this disrupts the cycle of history significantly. If even they can expand their life cycles and be coherent enough for another 30 or 40 years, that changes global economics, that changes strategy, that changes everything. Because once you get a new regime, you get new strategy, new ideas, new people coming in and to readjust. There's no continuity of government, really, until this. Now, we've tried to do that through bureaucracy, but that never really works. The Soviets tried that. They were probably the first technocrats that tried to operate that way on a global scale of managing their regime through process. Now, we've come to the point where I think there's an understanding that doesn't really work. You need to have a singular entity, cohesive, to manage that over a longer period of time to establish the order that they're trying to establish within their system.
How would this affect our lives and our kids' lives? How would this be an impactful thing if this happened?
One is that they're talking about organ transfers, and there's a guy I know that they were saying they were going to operate and fix this Achilles, but they were going to have to import a new tendon from China, because that's like where you get the best, because that's where they just allow human harvesting of parts and organs and stuff. And that's like, and when you come to that point of death, when you're a materialist atheist, you don't think about the moral ramifications of what you're doing, of using dead people or things like that to prolong your life. That doesn't matter. That's just, it's like, what's one more death so that I can stay alive? And in my moral justification, I stay alive longer so I can save more lives or keep the peace. You could easily moralize that if you're one of these guys. So it cheapens life even more. That which one of our elites in this country wouldn't take that deal?
Every single one of them would.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Now, if you become one of those elites, would you take the deal?
I'd like to think not, but because I'm not willing to do what they do, I wouldn't be an elite.
Yeah. Would your
That's
kids?
why we're not the elites, yeah.
Yeah. Would your kids take that deal if they follow your footsteps in the elite list?
Yeah, most likely. If I did that. Yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't they?
So how long? What would that life be like, and what would be our abilities, and then our kids' abilities through that life?
I don't know what it's like to live without a soul, but I'd imagine it's pretty much, like living in a prison of your own making, like basically hell on earth because you're just cutting parts away from yourself, of your soul, when you're using human sacrifice as a means to extend your life, kind of like what people experience when they realize what they've done with abortion. It doesn't mean there isn't, a way to, repent and heal, but you're never totally whole when you realize what you've done, that you sacrifice your child for a better quality of life in your eyes, which is the same thing as human sacrifice. As far as I'm concerned, that's no different than giving your children up to Moloch for better harvest. In a way, it's more repulsive because it's not, at least like back then, they were thinking like they were giving up to the gods something they wanted So it was still like an act of sacrifice to them. But now it's like a sacrifice to self. In a way, it's almost more disgusting.
So we lose the ability to see life as fragile and as finite, that we have an end. Whereas if you do this stuff, there you can extend that possibly indefinitely to a degree, and you'll be able to manipulate the world politics, world local, world global, whatever it is, and also the moon and Mars and all that kind of stuff, right? Because you would have more of an influence about what's happening and how things are going. And so there's large ramifications about doing this. On the flip side, it'd be kind of cool to see generations down to the 5th, to the 10th. You know, how did things go, right? I'm multi 10th generational person that can see all the way down. On the flip side, could you imagine how much wealth you would have to have in order to live that long?
Yeah. Or you
Social
buy
Security
into the system and, you think you're securing your place on the ark by being a slave to it and be like, well, do you want the life extension technology or don't you? Because not everyone's going to pass through the ark. We're going to make our own ark, and we're going to select the few that are. It's like that movie, Doctor Strangelove. We will have, we will live. There's very good, clear indication we can live in the bunkers for 100 years, and we must select the most prime of women, the most supple, and it's like, but that movie was a parody of what they were really talking about in the middle of the Cold War about nuclear holocaust. Like, all right, do we hit them first and destroy everything? Well, here's our backup plan. We just go underground and we'll just, have a world underground, and then we'll arise back to the surface with a new planet, with a great reset, as it were.
And then you would also have to look at faith. Would you have to have faith in God? Would you have to have faith in anything? Would all religion, world religion, just tank, and it'll be just science religion? Because that's the only thing that would really matter, right?
That's where we're at right now. That's the argument. That's the war that we're involved in right now.
Yeah.
And that's been my biggest problem with I'm not to caveat off of this, but that's been my biggest problem with organized religion right now, is they seem pretty much blind to this, that they're being called to the fight, but all I see is that they're being used as concentration camps for faith, to keep it sequestered and not allow it to extend out into the public sphere. It's like keeping your light under a bushel, pretty much, is what I see as a modern church. All denominations. There's very few churches out there. Like, there's one church here that, like, the pastor's like a Christian nationalist, but that's not the right, like, he's going like the opposite direction and going, well, I don't want to get engaged with anything. We're going to create our own compound of people that are like-minded, and we'll protect ourselves from the heretics, basically. And it's like, that's not good either, folks. Like, it's it's literally doing the same thing these lunatics are doing. You're just not being total.
You're creating your own version of it.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like most churches have kind of become that. To operate as a 501c3 business in today's age, you almost have to become that.
Well, that's the problem we have, is we've turned church into a business.
Yeah.
I was just, have you seen I was listening on my walk this morning, the Sean Ryan show, where they were talking about that, and it was so amazing to hear the revelation of what they're doing with the money and how they have no accountability for it. And if even 10% of what he was saying was true, it's appalling. And
they're incentivized to expense everything. Like, there's you don't want to profit, so you just spend, and just on salaries, on, getting cool stuff, and they've through that religion of 501c3, they've become a religion of mammon, of greed, and it's not even that they want to in the beginning, but you become that as a result of the legal system and the like. I think the devil lives in the law, honestly. Like, that's where demons live, because they, once you have a system set in place that forces you to be evil to survive, that's like demonic possession on a global, national, local scale. It's what is described as an egregore. It's like a being that manifests as a group consciousness comes together to fulfill, and then they fulfill their operating system. Like, their logic system gets fulfilled as they come together. And that's why, why do you think governments are so obsessed with how many views people, where are people watching, where are people giving their attention? That's like a really important part of nation state management, is where are eyeballs and minds and hearts at.
Well, and then when you talk like that, I think the problem that a lot of the Democrat Party's having right now is they're so used to being able to gaslight everyone that you through the same method, that when you get when you're used to gaslighting everyone, that's when you can get Gavin Newsom and go, oh, it's so horrible, look at what's going on. And it's just they say the most repugnant things and no one believes any of it anymore. It's
and they went too far. Yeah. But here it is, when you're looking at the 501c3, you have to follow certain things within that. Then if you are not that and you're for profit, you have other things that you have to follow. And there's churches that are built off of both platforms. And I know that for a fact. One church said, one pastor's like, yeah, I'm for profit church, because there's a time when the government can say, hey, 501c, it's gone. You can't do this anymore. And that means all the money's gone, everything. But for profit, they can't cut it off like that. They have to do other things.
Well, the benefit for being a for-profit, from what I understand, is they have to be, if you go out and make promises to your congregation and you only hit 2 of the promises, you're accountable for that shit. That's fraud. Straight up fraud. What they were explaining about this 501c3 stuff is there's no accountability. You don't have to disclose any of it. You have no accountability at all. And it's designed into the thing. It's designed into it. And
yeah, I think there's a way to mitigate that through a board.
Mm-hmm.
But if the board...
Yep.
But you're right. Yeah, there's a certain level, stakeholder, who are the stakeholders and who are the officers and who has what legal obligations, but again, yeah, and no one. Why would you do that? Because there's so much accountability. And then the same problem arises, though, is how hard. The tax code is this big, so it's the same problem. And if you're a target for whatever reason and you're a for-profit, what are the odds they're not going to find something to nail you anyway?
The problem is when they go on a fishing expedition, if you're on their list, they're gonna go after.
They'll find something. Yeah.
Almost.
Yep,
every
there
time.
is always something.
Oh, look at what they did with Trump. I mean, he definitely pissed off everyone, and for the first time in U.S. history, they threw everything they could at him.
That's why I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
And that's why I thought that he was more. If they had to cheat, borrow, and steal the way they did to convince people, to try to convince people of that stuff, it gave me more faith that he's actually as honest as he says he is, because they went through everything, and coming up with a crooked deal over a land deal that even the banks said that they weren't upset over because they got fully paid in return, and then the people that are accusing Trump of malfeasance are actually themselves involved in malfeasance. They're doing the exact same thing, except for they're legitimately not lying about it. And they're not even doing an estimation of the value. They're just writing up whatever it takes to fill out the paperwork, so they can screw over. And they're saying this is their second or their primary dwelling when they have another dwelling. This is they're way more corrupt.
They're protected.
Yeah,
But they're not. But they're not protected. Here's the thing: they were accusing Trump of doing something that they were doing themselves, but Trump was doing it. And then now that they've been caught, they're going after these people and going after them pretty hard. Like, yeah, you actually are stealing from your own constituents. You also are stealing from the government and all this kind of stuff. And you said that's a no-no, and that's why you went after Trump. And it's like this, if the left hand's doing one thing, but the right hand is doing something else, and it's very convoluted to people that are trying to figure things out in their life, that are trying to do honestly and stuff. But you have these people that are benefit off of ripping people off, right? And then they're also trying to benefit off of putting down other people. And they're like, we don't like that kind of a country. We don't like that kind of a system, the two-party system. We want things to be as even with the laws and that kind of stuff. You do wrong, you get knocked down. You pay for it. And I see people. This is Judean Christian concepts, right? Because through the Bible it talks about this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. The Decalogue, the Ten Commandments. It tells you how to, first of all, how to love God and be connected with Him, and then it tells you this is how you are to interact with your fellow man. You don't lie, steal, and cheat your neighbor and all that kind of stuff, right? And so people are built within the Judeo-Christian culture and value. And then what happens when it goes completely upside down? People start getting mad.
well, it's impressive with the amount of court press that they're giving on all this stuff, and they're going at Trump with like all of the full court press on how horrible it is, and all these people are victims, and on and on and on. It's just, and he still has. I was reading one of the polls. I forgot where I saw it, but he has like a 58% approval rating. So I mean,
Yeah.
no matter with how, and that's I think depends on the poll you're watching. I might be off a little bit, but he's still.
It's high. It's very high, especially for a second term. And a part of the problem is Colorado has just gone into all mail-in voting. That's like he flat out said, okay, so they're just going to cheat in their elections now. So my understanding is there is actually going to be some real movement on that before the next election. But the problem is, then how does this all
mail-in voting?
All mail-in
Really?
voting. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. That everyone has that ability. I think they still have polling locations set up, but I think everyone's going to be able to do a mail-in ballot if they want. So it's yeah.
Well, you can anyway. Here in New Mexico, you don't even have to have, like when I lived in California, if you want to do a absentee ballot, what they call it, you had to have cause. Like you had to come up with a legit cause.
Yeah, that's not necessary in Colorado
or New Mexico. New Mexico, you can just fill out a form saying I want to mail it in, and then they'll even let you do this stuff. They'll send you a ballot here, and if you want to walk in with that ballot and say I changed my mind, you can hand them a ballot and they'll hand you a new one, and you can go vote in person.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it's like the machine fraud, which does happen. Like there's just common sense tells you that, but there's only so much you could do on the back end without being caught.
What was that Robin Williams movie where he was running for president and it was
Man of the Year?
Yeah, it is amazing how almost spot on that story was. It's like it's a fictional story that's coming true.
Yeah.
It's just scary. I only watched it because I thought I like Robin Williams, but the backstory on that, of like them transposing the numbers and stuff, that's a real legit thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And here it is, because of the change in this election, and everything's been open. I mean, things are coming out left and right. Before then, we didn't hear anything. It was all censored. It was all this or whatnot. And you're being
Filtered,
put
yeah.
down for even asking, right?
Oh,
JFK, we've been talking about that, and moving forward, if the government is able, or one party or both parties or whoever can cloak what's actually happening behind closed doors and stuff, then they have the most control. The issue today is that control is being taken away by releasing so much information, so much content about what really happened, since what, uh, the 40s, 50s, 60s,
Yeah, the
um,
internet is backfiring.
Obama's. Yeah, it's blowing up big time. And so when you look at what's happening today, you can only hide your sins for so long, right? You can all hide your indiscretions. Eventually they come out. Eventually everything comes to light. And then what do? You double down, triple down, quadruple down, or do you just come clean? And you're seeing what people have been doing, like Gavin Newsom. Dude, that guy, he he keeps doubling down on all that kind of stuff. It's just crazy. It's like there's no morality within him.
Do anything to win is
Hmm.
all I see. And it's like the old statement when I lived in California, how do you know when a politician's living is his lips are moving? I don't even think he remembers the lies anymore. I mean, and I have no, he doesn't represent me at all. I left way before he was even a glimmer. I left when they raised taxes from 7 to 14% income tax.
What's interesting about Gavin though is that he can sit down and talk for 3.5 hours and just lie
And
the
say
whole time,
nothing.
and just that was impressive. I'd never because that's the problem. That's why these people don't do podcasts long form because they can't keep their story straight. But he's so good at it. And even though everyone knows he's lying, it's like he just says one thing and then moves on to the next thing. You can't track it, and that's
Yeah.
that's how the media works too. It's like people can barely remember what happened yesterday, let alone 10 years ago.
What's funny is that I was just reading today, he hit the laws in California are so convoluted on the transformation of a firearm from like buying it from another state. He had to leave that gun in Tennessee, and he had to hire a lawyer to figure out the laws to get that in there. And his own counsel says that for him to be able to transfer that gun to him, he has to go get a license, get a permit, and that's just before he can have it sent to California. There's like 3 steps he has to do before he gets sent, and he hired a lawyer to get an advisory committee just so that gun could be sent to him. What a convoluted mess.
Yeah, it's being done on purpose, obviously. So, I mean, administrative terrorism is a part of the problem. Like that, the fires in California. Everyone that knows anything about how to manage wood, forest is. I mean, the number one issue has been they don't do fire breaks, and in Texas, we do fire breaks all over the place. We have to because it's so dry down here, and they just don't do it
Well,
because of the
Wait,
agency.
hold on. Cody and I have a state that the capital, they haven't done any of the fire prevention in years. And so they were having rollout blackouts and all that kind of stuff because if it ignites, there is not enough water. Everybody knows it from the top all the way down to the firefighters, right? And what are they doing about it? Oh, we're just going to do some rollouts. And not everyone can have the electricity instead of, okay, so we got this issue. Now what do we do with it? How do we fix this from today on? How do we make things better and greater, right, for our constituents, for our state, for all this kind of stuff, instead of, well, we're going to be like LA and we're going to burn down because we lack the source of water, we lack all the attention and stuff, we put it other places. And I was talking to a guy about that, and I was like, but that doesn't make sense. You're blaming all this other stuff, but what are you doing to prevent it? Texas, they're smart, because what do they not want to happen? They don't want their state to burn down, right? But it seems like these other states, it's like, do you really want to see us burn?
Did you hear
What's
what?
the benefit?
Did you hear what Colorado, the problem they had come up this last week? They spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build a reservoir in a valley that has like a creek, but it's perfect for a dam. And they're gonna like pump water over there to have enough water on hand to like grow the metropolis and all this stuff. And it rained on they're cleaning it all up, getting ready to fill this thing. The rock, and they had an open quarry. They quarried all the rock to build the dam. It's an earthen dam. The rock quarry that they took the dam out of has nuclear material in it.
Wait a minute. Okay, just think about that. Now, if they release that, right, and it goes down, where does it go? And all those people, including an ocean, gets affected.
Well, no. Here's what I mean is
Oh.
it has. Let me be more specific. It has naturally occurring uranium in it, and they took groundwater samples off of it, and it's like 500 times higher than it should be. Just naturally occurring uranium. It's like you would have think. So they spent all this money and put all this stuff forth, and now they have a dam that's getting ready to get filled, but they have nuclear material in there, and they can't even fill it. You would have thought they would have, because this is their thing. We're going to have all this storage of water, but the rock has nuclear material in it. It's naturally occurring. It's not even like they put it there.
Oh, no, they got a uranium mine, so then,
Yeah, they found a uranium mine on accident. Yeah.
Yeah, but here it is. So that's got to be preventable, right? You got to do the soil samples and all that kind of stuff. And Colorado is one of those places that are really like California. They are anal retentive. They're all about getting this and that done, right? Kind of like what else happened in this week is President Trump. He signed an executive order that he is going to oversee the Olympics, and he's taking it out of the hands of Gavin Newsom because the guy can't do a thing right.
I don't know how
the rail and all that kind of stuff. It's like Colorado. It seems like they need someone else to like run their state because they can't do it right.
Well, the thing is California is doing. I'm interested too because California is just this big land grab up there by Sacramento. They're taking a valley over there by England, in that area of England. They're taking a valley that has no real river system out of it. They're damming it off, and they're going to do this. They're going to pump water out of the river, this Sacramento River, and they're going to store it in this valley that they're turning into a reservoir. But it has no river in it, so they have to pump it in. And I'm like, how many times does the government have to do these grandiose things, and it just turns to crap?
So what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. Sorry.
Go ahead.
The pattern here is like, okay, the question, because this is like I'm getting a lot of. It's like when you watch Fox News, it's like, look at these stupid Democrats. Do they not know what they're doing? And it breaks my mind because I'm like, they're not stupid. They're incredible. Like they're a hive mind. So the low level people that you see coming out, the politicians that talk, like Jasmine Crockett or Gavin or whoever, are like,
oh, dude,
like, are they retarded
Texas,
or like
Texas? The way they screwed her, I have to say, it's just beautiful. And then what's that the other guy the one that went up and was raising his cane at the Trump speech in Washington. He's from Texas too.
Yeah.
And they deliberately drew the lines to get her to get rid of those two guys. And if you look at the lines and where they live and how it all works, and I don't know that much about Texas politics, but they had to deliberately do it. I mean,
Yeah,
and
but I
the
mean,
best-
they've been doing that forever. That's all. That's the Democrats' operating model. Like, and they just project.
Gerrymandering.
Yeah, they
well,
literally are
and
the
then now they're
masters of
mad
it.
because we're following their game plan. And the thing is too is I was talking to my friend out in California. He was in the politics, and he was saying they've gerrymandered California so much that they can't gerrymander it anymore.
No, that's true of all of them. Maryland, they're saying they're going to add more. They can't. They're maxed out and they're fraud of that, which it's not fraud because it's legal, because they do it through the system. Again, anyway, the point is, why, like, there is a business model to what, this isn't all random. Like, there is a business model to this.
What I liked is all that information you gave us about Roswell and the JFK and all the linking up. This is not new. This has been going on for 40, 50, 60, 100 years. It's basically been going, and it goes back to the turning of the 1900s too.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they came up with the Fed and all that stuff, and that's when it really started taking off heat because they wanted to have more power. Yeah. They came up with a company, entity called the Fed that is nothing to do with the federal government. And they own nothing, but they control everything. It's just... Oh,
well,
it's just...
yeah, and there's some major... And there were some... there was some preliminary work done on this. But Scott Bessent wrote something in the Wall Street Journal. He basically said the Fed's gain of function was the title of the article. And I'm trying to find it, but it was, and Scott Bessent is like a billionaire from this, like he worked for Soros, like in mergers and acquisition. Like he knows how these plays are done. He is scary intelligent. Like I'm not sure, like, you know, I don't know, like, I don't really see the world in good guys and bad guys anymore. Like, it's just, that's too simplistic. It's more of look, we're getting a new world order one way or the other, right? Like, it's just jump ball right now is what's the model of that going to be. And
the thing you were talking a couple weeks ago about the London and how it was all tied in with the Dutch. And I was reading an article just today, where he's going against the international shipping conglomerate over in London that controls all the shipping, and they're trying to. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. Bessent?
Let me see what it is.
I mean, I'm sure. Look, the way I see the world being set up right now is that we're going to war with Europe. We're at war with Europe right now, is what it looks like. Because the European parasite that
the International Maritime Organization, based in London.
So we're bigfooting them and saying, yeah, screw your admiralty law. We're taking over the seas. We rule it anyway. Is that the idea?
Well, they're trying to. I watched this guy called "What's Going On in Shipping," because if you can watch what's going on in shipping, you get an idea of what the economy is doing.
Yes.
Stay more. I've looked at for the last 3 or 4 years. I've watched what's going on shipping. Well, when you're in trucking, you want to know what's going on in volumes. Like what part of how do you want to align yourself? You can kind of give an estimate of what building is going to be taking place and what kind of stuff you want to contract on with where the market's going. So I always watch like train shipping, the shipments on like Union Pacific. They have, because they're a publicly traded company, they have to disclose what their freight volumes are and all that stuff. And with the FRA, they got to disclose all that stuff. And then, so about a year and a half ago, I started watching this guy, what's going on in shipping, and he explains like the shipping port, the shipping stuff and all that other stuff. And they're trying to get the International Maritime Organizations trying to take over get rid of a lot of the emissions on the ocean. And there's two entities that are fighting that because Well, one, no, I said that wrong. The United States wants it to kind of maintain the status quo, and China wants them to go to this alternate source because they're trying to get make all the shipping stuff because they run bunker C, which is like a really heavy crude oil, and you can run that through a diesel engine. When you have these really huge engines, you get them really, really hot, and then you can run bunker C, which is like cheap crap. It's the same stuff they used to run in all the steam engines. And they're trying to get over to running these engines on ammonia, and they're trying to get them to run over on liquefied propane or LPG or liquefied whatever. And what I thought was interesting is the idea of running this ammonia product through there. And who has the largest source of ammonia manufacturing for running these big engines is China. So China is trying to get all these guys to come in and take over the maritime, get them to change the maritime rules so all the people will modernize their ships. And the number one thing China is in is manufacturing of ships. They lead the world in ship manufacturing, so it benefits them too. Plus, they also control the largest sources of ammonia production. And so Trump is like, no. We're not going to play in this game. And so they're getting ready to sign off on, basically change. They want this zero emissions bullshit, and they're trying to do carbon capture, and they want to do, carbon credits for all these zero emission ships to kind of run all the high emission stuff out, which then led me down the rabbit hole of, well, why would they want to do this, and what's the unforeseen effect of what happens when they change the way these ships are polluting. And the reason they can tie, I was reading an article that they can tie the increased volume of hurricanes based on the zero emission standards put out by the ships on the Atlantic Oceans, because the amount of pollution going up allows more radiation to hit the ocean surface, which is increasing ocean's temperature. Does that make sense? Or am I talking too fast?
It's the first time I'm hearing about it, so I'm like, okay.
So there's another guy I watch. It's called Oppenheimer Ranch, because he does weather prediction through solar cycles, which is a more accurate way to do long-term predictions of weather. Like what is the weather going to do by doing this? So if you can dictate how much the ocean, like the Pacific Ocean's temperature has gone up because of solar cycles, helps you determine what kind of winter you're going to have, because the hotter the ocean is, the more evaporative water goes up into the jet stream, and then that brings it in, and then it increases the water rainfall and stuff.
Well, the last time we went through a solar minimum was the Dark Ages.
Yeah, and we're coming into a really hardcore solar minimum.
Yeah, and that tends to lead to lower crop yields, which leads to lower population, the ability to maintain a population. And that's why you see this whole push for depopulation going on. Is I really think it's a global business. They're looking at their charts, and they're like, we can't handle this many people, and they're unmanageable anyway. We'll just take advantage of this new cycle that we're entering into, and just start tinkering away with the population, convince people to have less children, abortion. We're all going to die from climate change, fear, demoralization. We'll poison everyone's food and water, make everyone, make sure people's life expectancy goes down so we don't have to pay so much out in Medicaid and Medicare and reallocate resources. From their perspective, it makes a lot of sense to make sure there's less people on the planet. Here's the problem. You have to make sure the whole planet's on board with this. Because if there's a nation state or a group out there that decides, you know what, we're going to take advantage of this, grow our population, build our industrial base, we'll be the hegemon, and you guys can commit suicide.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a rejection of that because they realize Soros, Kissinger, before Kissinger died, said the Chinese had peeled off and they're no longer with the program, and Soros said they're the biggest threat. They were partners up until since World War II, since they put the communists in charge. And, and during Tiananmen Square, the nationalists, like that was a propaganda move pushed by the nationalist faction in China to oust the communist regime. And Bush Sr. Skullcroft over there and basically said, okay, you guys get this under control and we'll give you preferred trade status and you guys can maintain power, but you need to make a deal with us and we'll basically move our industrial base over to you guys and you use your population as basically a technocratic state is what happened. And that's what happened. And I mean, Tiananmen Square, people think it was just Tiananmen Square. It was a nationwide purge. No one knows how many people were killed. It's estimated from tens of thousands to hundreds. And they just squashed it and the media went dark on it. No one talked about it. But the Chinese in recent years, it looks like they're moving for, okay, well, we're actually, they bend the knee and kowtow for a long time to the elites of Europe. And like, oh yeah, we're going along with your model. We'll have a seat at the table. You give us tech transfer, life extension, all this stuff we were talking about earlier, because the elites, Europeans just look at the Chinese as a bunch of agrarian backwards people. And so they were like, yeah, sure, we'll just use them as slaves. But now, I mean, you're dealing with arguably a 10,000-year-old civilization. I mean, no one really knows. They have a real tight lid on their records, but it's old. It's an ancient civilization. They have a long memory. And they know how to deal with things like this if they have their wits about them. And it looks like they've broken away. They're starting their own deal. Now what's happened, because our elites and the elites in Europe and the ones that have been captured over here in the United States, they are still going with their depopulation model. But the Russians and Chinese are like, yeah, okay, you guys do that, and you commit suicide, and we'll take over the world. And now they don't know what to do. And the answer to this is nationalism. And they can't do that because if we go nationalist and start focusing inward and fixing our own country instead of outward, it's forcing everyone to look at like, what have you guys been doing to us? You've poisoned what? Like, you've done what to us? And then and then we start getting the head choppers out, The
one thing when I was listening to that podcast that came to light that I thought was interesting is the parallel right now between the Catholic Church during the time of Martin Luther and the churches that we have here, how they've kind of like built an upward system and stuff,
Hierarchy.
a hierarchy, and they're getting ready for another, basically, like
Reformation.
A Reformation coming up, and I think that same theory is coming up with a lot of the governments too. People are getting tired of this crap, and the thing that you could probably remember this, Corey, is the thing that ended the Soviet Union was all those veterans coming back from Afghanistan and getting pissed at what did we fight for and what we gave it up for nothing. And they're all coming in, and that's what Putin is afraid of. If he ends that war and all these vets come back, he's going to face that same bullshit again, and it'll be the end of that empire again. And
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, that's a great point. I thought you were talking about the West, or in terms of the American population, like the American servicemen. I mean,
both sides.
Everybody, and it's like, that is a major problem, and that's a part of the reason they've incentivized vets to basically commit suicide and just kill themselves, and just there's no real help in terms of, because what they really need is like the why. What's the point of all this? Because I mean, even the people that are killing themselves, they weren't in direct action. It's not necessarily PTSD. I suspect a lot of it is the meaninglessness of it all.
Well, I have a friend of mine named Philip, and I don't think he'll mind this. With my experience with the military, and then with my brother's experience and all that stuff, the one thing I see is they take these vets and they throw them into this system, and they just collapse these wills of these people. My brother goes to like 3 appointments a fucking week for the VA. What and then Philip, him and his sister are both vets, and they are at the VA all the goddamn time doing this and that, and it's just like the VA is a soul-crushing entity to these vets, and they're priming them to get them in a place of despair to where they just want to go and end it.
Yep.
And it's like they're always changing his meds, and they're doing this and that and this radical shit, and he's always in pain, and it's just like, and he talks to me, he's like, how come these people can't help me? And I'm like, dude, I never go to the doctor, and I'm never in any pain.
No.
And it's just when you link all that, when you do a kill list like we brought up of like how you would do this
kill chain,
and take a kill chain, how you would do this, it just comes to my mind that you get this population of highly motivated patriotic people, you feed them into this system that just grinds them up, and they're in constant amount of pain, and they're always shifting their goddamn medication all the time, and it just, you could see why they want to kill each other, and they keep these veterans so occupied going to all these VA shit that they can't go out and participate in reality.
Yeah, and the culture allow it to toxify, alcoholism. There is, it's not like, and people are like, well, who's behind all this? It's like, at this point, it's like, I mean, there's definitely, I do think it's intentional. It's just, but you have to look at it from like a corporate incentive model. Like, let's look at a church. Do you think any one person in the church is like, let's keep the people under control so that they don't start speaking up and being too mouthy and embarrassing us, like in the local community, like in the political world? No, but they're incentivized to not go there. That's why they just like be quiet about it.
Well, Corey? You have a similar relationship with our church, and you've seen the inside of that. And
I've seen the inside of a lot of churches. I've seen the inside of churches squashing information coming out, right, about inappropriateness or whatever else. And that happens across the board. It doesn't, not just one place, it's across the board. And there is places within the sermon structure that shames people from speaking out sometimes. Also, you bring in this elite, you're elite because no other people are going to go to heaven, but this place, and that's across a lot of the boards too. And so you're training people down this road, and you also want to train people to come and stay at your church and build it up, right? To buy into your system so that you can increase, especially the ones that are making money off of people and not, and it's very incentivized, right? And then the ones that are not incentivized that way, they're incentivized the other way, because if you don't get enough people into your church, then the people that are above you are like, well, you're not doing, God's not in you. God's not there. God's not working as he should in your life because there's something wrong with you. So there's all kinds of layers on this onion that you're talking about, and it is different than the corporate world in a sense. So you're asking a question that has so many layers, so many things that are going on within it. That it's like, oh, how do you fix it? Well, what happened in the Reformation and all that kind of stuff? It was small groups.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the
Remember
only
we were
way that
talking
I
about-
see going forward. Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I was talking to you about that this morning, Corey. Is about like when the United States was first formed, and I validated this. Their structure of religion was small groups of individuals, and when you get a pack of small individuals, it's really hard to control. And then the church came, the Protestant church at the time came in and started setting up all these churches and stuff to try to control the population. And then when you had the the Cherokee on the East Coast and all these other stuff, we started going in there and trying to convert them over. The amount of violence that the church put towards these people, not just the government, but the church government. And look at the way the Mormons, when they went over there, they put their own army together, and they went and fought on the plains and tried to destroy all those frontiersmen. They went in and tried to conquer the frontier. And it's just time and time again, it's just, and how all this
And that's
stuff,
not all. That's not all, Cody. You also have to look at these orphanages that were built, and it's not just one denomination. It was several denominations that was taking Native Americans and putting them in, or taking Native Americans and putting them into these Christian homes around the world, and they got separated from their culture, from their tribe, and they lost it. And when they tried to come back, they were not accepted because they were separated at such a young age that they didn't recognize them. And so there's so many things that have gone within that time period, even up to what the 60s and the 70s. Things are still happening during that time too.
oh yeah. And this all became, this revelation, I started studying all this stuff because of the Adventist Church. I could not understand how the church that we were in wanted to do, in Corrales, wanted to do an expansion on it. And the only people they can borrow money from to do that expansion is the church. And they have to borrow money from the conference. That money's given to the conference, and they have to borrow the money from the conference to be able to use it, and then they have to pay the money back to the conference with interest, and if they don't, then the conference gets to keep the building. And then when you're done paying back the loan, the conference owns the building.
Conference always owns the building.
Yeah. So you go out and you want to do an expansion on your church. You have to take a loan. You can only take a loan out from one entity, and that's the conference. Okay? So you go borrow money from the conference to do an expansion on your church that you then have to pay an interest rate on and then pay back. And that money was given to them. So you got to get your parishioners to make money to pay back a loan for money that they gave the conference to begin with. And then when they're done paying back the loan, the conference gets to keep the property.
So
And
what are
when
the Go ahead, sorry.
And when I started going, that is the most. If I was a bank and I could say, "Hey, I'm going to lend you money to build your house, and you're going to go out and you're going to earn I'm going to take your bank account, and I'm going to go out and take money that you earned and you gave me as a bank. I'm going to lend that money back to you, and then you're going to have to pay me back the money back. And when you're done paying it back, I get to keep the house, even though you." And when I sat for days in my semi-truck driving, trying to understand how anyone would ever take that loan, and yet the church does it all the time. And as you, as a chaplain, you've told me that if you don't meet certain goals on bringing in, not chaplain, but when you were a pastor, if you don't bring in certain amounts of cash, they start getting on your crap. And then, so when I remember that part
It's
of
not
it,
cash. It's if you don't have your amount of people that you baptize, bring into, they start questioning what's going on for a lot of places. And then the money is also another indicator if you're growing or not. So they're using those things as indicators.
as metrics,
Yeah. And so what do you use as metrics and stuff like that in these places? You look at some of these mega churches, they don't have to give the money anywhere, right? And they build up and they're able just to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's differences on how these different structures work, but yet we can find corruptness in all of it. But here it is, what are we going to do about all this information and our relationship with God? is all this information going to take us away from God?
I
Or
think
do we take this information and say, okay, I don't want to be a part of this or whatever else. I'm going to do things this way so that I can do the best I can to honor God, not man.
I think I mean, I don't think there's anywhere in the Bible where I've seen the virtue of ignorance. So I think it's just kind of just assumed that your job is to be a conscious being and not be led around by the nose. I mean, the Bible and all our stories and the heroes we hold up are people that set out on their own, listening to the inner voice of God within them, despite what the entire world around them looks like or is pushing back at them. And that's God arises through us. We are the feet and hands and mouths of God, right? I know people are like, well, that's too grandiose, but it's like, that's what makes humans so amazing, is that we are the portal for the divine.
And that's also what we have also lost within ourselves and through over time is, you know, we were supposed to be like Adam and Eve, connecting and listening and all that kind of stuff. And we are more about, hey, what did the pastor tell me this weekend, right? Or what did this person say on this social media or whatever else, instead of doing our own connection with God, right? And listening to Him, spending that time activating that mind that we have and listening and being the hands and feet, because a lot of people are not being the hands and feet. We are just being I think the same thing that you have said about Democrats and Republicans. There's people that are just like puppets. They're people that are blinded to what's happening. It's also in the church. It's also everywhere. How do we change that for ourselves, right? So that we can be that, and we can be having those Elisha on the mountain, right? And God's talking to us, and we also talk back to God like, "Hey, the Shunammite woman came, and you didn't tell me what was happening. Now I got to get up and get to her house." Those things should be more important within our lives and ourselves, but it is actually not even part of our lives.
So when humanity fell in the garden, to me it's almost like, I wonder if it was a natural process of it's a story of the awakening of the conscious being, that you aren't conscious to the evil and the rebellion, right? Like everything's, like you said, natural, and yin yang, everything's perfect, and it's a perfect harmony. But to understand, so we're thinking about this in terms of harmony and disharmony might be useful in terms of just to understand why things are in disharmony. I think is necessary for this. I'm not refuting what you just said. Your will and intention is what I heard you say is required to be aimed upward, 100%. What I see happens though is a lot of people are not willing to also look down and look into the depths of hell, and that's not because it's not pleasant. And it can suck you in. If you stare into the abyss too long, you become it. However, the knowledge of good and evil isn't like a choice. It's here. We have the knowledge of good and evil. And having the knowledge of the good is important, but knowing how evil works is equally important to, one, help. I mean, just pragmatically, looking at our children, is we have to act as like the liver or the filter for the world, for our kids, so we can start as much as we can going, okay, this is all a scam, here's why, I understand this, I'm trying this, and you can try, then here's a pathway I'm blazing. Maybe it's wrong and maybe there's a better way, but it's aimed with the intention of being a free being made in the image of God, aimed towards the divine. Basically what I'm trying to get at is there is a serious knowledge problem that we have with people of good spirit and goodwill that claim Christ as Lord, but they're not willing to look into the depths of hell to understand the nature of what we're dealing with. And this is a part, like, I'm a millennial. I'm a product of multiple generations ignoring problems. And now they're here, and we have to deal with it. So, and it's not their fault. It happened, this happened so quickly. Like the acceleration of the insanity of the world. So I'm not, and a lot of people, okay, boomer. I actually like the boomers more of any generation. Personally, I get along with boomers because they're tied to the world that I was kind of exposed to. That just good old boy, just work hard, family oriented. There's still elements of that, and yeah, a lot of them went astray, but there's like kind of a cute naivete about boomers that I like. Because it comes from like a nice place a lot of the time, but to describe to them the problems that our kids have to deal with, it's like talking a different language. They have no idea what you're talking about. But they're
because like the 1950s and the early 60s that they grew up in, and then even what they raised, like my parents can't understand what we're going through, considering the amount has changed in the 20 years they raised me.
Yeah, and I don't blame them at all. It's crazy. Yeah. So, but go ahead.
And I think we're all trailblazers in the sense that, you had the Dust Bowl people. They had to trailblaze how to get through this
yes.
this economic disaster, right? And you had the World War I, World War II, you had Vietnam, you have Iraq, Afghanistan. You have all these things that are happening, and we're always trailblazing, trying to figure out how do we move forward with technology now, right? Which is exploding and all these things, right? And how do we, as parents, lead ourselves, right? Be led by God, have the Holy Spirit lead us into all truth, and how do we help our spouse, our kids move forward within all these things? It's tough. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the weak soul. This is not for the people that just want to get along, go along. This is for those toughened nails. If you're not, it makes you tougher. It makes you stronger. And that's why I think the baby boomers were so tough for their time period, and on so down. So many people are tough. And then you get to these people that are not tough. They're flipping out. They're having a lot of behavioral health issues, right? And they're trying to figure themselves out, but they can't because things are going too fast. They're too convoluted. They've been told all these things, and so they live in a la land, right? And you can't get them out because they were told, hey, you need to stay in this la land. But for the three of us, we are not in the la land. We are pushing through, and we are going through the jungle that is thick at points of life and trying to figure things out. And it bends the mind in a way that makes it super tough. How do we raise our kids in all this stuff?
But don't you think that we need to understand, like, Christ said, be as wise as serpents, as gentle as doves, right? Meaning understand the mind of the snake, understand it so you don't, because it's like, I just watched The Godfather again the other day, and it's like, women and children can afford to be, what did he say? Afford to be careless. Men cannot. There's kind of a thing where there's a certain responsibility to not be fools in this world, and that's dangerous because once you start looking at the evil, you're like, well, everything is a lie. Like, how do I trust anything? And because that's why a lot of people avoid it, because it's like despair is right there. Why would you do that to your mind and your psyche? And then that's where, having a group of men around each other to help each other, prop each other up is so important. And so I need it. Because it's insane. It's absolutely crazy. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you have to, don't you think that's important aspect of it. It's not everything. Obviously, you need the spiritual and mental, and you need to figure out a way to be healthy through this process of awakening, and not kill yourself, or not literally kill yourself, but you know what I mean, like do things.
But you're engaging with the divine. You're engaging with the creator of the universe, or God, the master of the universe, and you're engaging in seeing how can you help me get through this. I understand these things because it's overloading. There's things that's going to overload anyone. And being around men, right? You can share, hey, I'm running into these issues and stuff like that. And they can say, hey, I've been there, or I don't know what to do. I'm praying for you. And when you come to an answer, share with me because I haven't gotten there yet. Or if you talk to someone that's older, 10, 20 years older, they're like, yeah, this is the wrong way to do it. Right? But it's...
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to show a screenshot here or something. So this describes the seculum of generations. So you'll notice this is kind of the cycle that the Anglo-American sphere has been in, specifically the Anglo-American sphere. This is not true of other civilizations until modern history, when everything got synced up. It's very interesting how that happened. But anyway, so you can look at these are the archetypes of the different generations. So like the Gen Xers are the nomads, the Boomers are the prophets, and the artists were the silent generation. And the GI generation was the ones that went off to World War II at the last. It was about this cycle takes about 100 years, 80 to 100 years, the lifespan of a human being. So everyone's born into like a different silo, and they all have to have different roles. So basically, the hero generation arises during the crisis phase of civilization, when everything's falling apart, or it has fallen apart, and now you got to rebuild it. And that leads to the artistic generation that sees the fruits of the war, that has kind of a rekindled energy and a rekindled life force for the world, that starts expressing now that peace is and control, or there's been like a status, or everything's been stabilized to a point where you can afford that. The prophet generation and these aren't the children of the heroes. The children of the heroes are the boomers. So it kind of like, these are like, the artists are like the kids, while the hero generation is doing the or young adults or adults. And they're the ones that were kind of around but weren't of age to deal with the crisis. And then the GI gave birth to the boomers, and the artists, the silent generation, gave birth to the Gen Xers. And this is kind of like how it goes. Like it's like a sine wave. Like you go through, a growth phase, a peak, then an unraveling, and then a crisis. So the nomad is during the unraveling. The hero generation arises during the crisis. The artist generation comes of age post-crisis during the ascent. And the prophet generation arises at the peak. Because they're like the ones that remember when everything was good and everything worked. So they're kind of like the naive ones, but they're also the ones that remember the crisis. Hence the prophet. They kind of can see both sides of they can remember the good and the bad. They weren't sucked into one or the other. They could see both ends of the scale. So that's a concept laid out in a book called The Fourth Turning by Strauss and Howe. I highly recommend that.
So that also parallels with the farming and ranching. You have the prophet, right? And they're the ones that see, hey, I'm going to go buy this land. And then you got the nomad, their next generation, that takes over, and they are now the ones that have to take over what's left of, or whatever what it costs to pay for the land. And then you got I forgot what that third one was in
hero.
There, the hero. Now they're doing well because the prophets already started it. The nomads have paid off most of it, and the hero, they're living life. They don't have very much. And then it comes to that third one, which is the artist, and they totally tank everything.
Not really. It's kind of the nomad generation is actually the one that's the ones that are in charge, that are the responsibles during the descent. Because the prophets are at the peak. They're the one, and that's true. The boomers have most of the wealth. And what's happened is the Gen Xers, the nomads, kind of went out into the world and were kind of aimless, wandering around. They weren't really building communities. They weren't really everyone's moving from job to job. Everyone's moved at least 2 to 3 times. No one ever like stays in their town home. Like, that's very strange if you do that. It happens, but it's not common. Especially because to go out and seek wealth, you have to go out into the world, because wealth's been redistributed to other places and not on the homestead. It's not like wealth generation, I should say. Then the hero generation, it's not like they're actually doing the worst. They're in the crisis phase when everything has fully unraveled and there is no way for us to buy a home, for us to, I mean, that's not like for us to generate wealth or aggregate wealth, like, because there is no order and sustainable economic model for us to build and rely upon. We don't know what to trust. Everything is up for grabs right now. We don't even know if the country is going to stay connected in the next 20 years. Like, you know, there's so much. The jump ball is real, and the last time we had this was World War II, when the entire world was in jump ball and empires collapsed and all assets were just reconsolidated, and whole new entities emerged. The UN, the world government, all that stuff came out of that. And the Chinese, the Russians had to go through something similar to this. And like their crisis phase lasted almost 100 years, during their dark age. And now they've been trying to come out of it and to sync back up, because anyway, you're tracking, the pattern is correct. It's just the timing was, I think, what they're describing anyway. But what you said isn't necessarily wrong. Yeah. It's just,
not in the same order, or same, not the same profit. And
And the thing that I saw with the hero generate, these guys know about this cycle, the ones that run propaganda. And when I saw the Summer of Love, that was them tapping into that heroic drive of the young people, saying, like, you've been screwed. This is the evil in the world. Here's your enemy. Go.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's like, they tried to hijack it. Now it's not going to work because they don't have any real solutions. Like, that's why, their only option at this point is really to kill us all. At this point, I know that sounds crazy, but that's like, I mean, the number of the crimes against us as people are legion against our children. I mean, did you see the Robert F. Kennedy hearing
wasn't that just what a show trial?
I mean, literally, I'm watching the Democrats argue to murder us. It was the weirdest thing. It's like,
well, and then the thing that pissed me off is the senator from New Mexico literally trying to get a soundbite off of it. He's trying to do everything
that was hilarious.
To try to put Robert Kennedy into a trap, and Robert saw exactly through the bullshit, and he kept trying to do it, and it's like he's even telling him, I see exactly what you're doing. Why are we playing this game?
Yeah, no, he's a Jedi master with these people. He's so good. It was awesome.
But he's been brought up in this world.
Yes.
So he knows it, right?
Yeah.
He knows his own people very well.
Yeah.
Well,
and you try to discredit him, but he's not working.
The system killed his dad.
Yeah.
The CIA, the system didn't like his dad either.
He's flat out said they killed him. That they had a hand in it. He said this. So that's like, I made that whole case last week for the CIA was running Oswald. I'm like, the scion of the dynasty has said outright that's what happened. And it's like, okay, and then that's a part of the problem is, like, what are they not capable of doing at this point? It's not even just the Kennedy. It's like,
They can get to you anywhere, dude. I was watching an interview by a guy that was in the same has been in the cell with that Epstein was in, and he said there's no way, and they were showing pictures of that cell. There's no way to hang yourself in there. And how he was supposed to hang it. I mean, they might have strangled him to death, but they sent the guy in there and killed him.
Yeah.
And then for what I thought was amazing this week too is that I forget the name of the Speaker of the House, but he admitted that Trump was a FBI informant on Epstein and was doing everything he could to try to get Epstein taken care of, and he kicked him out. He was turning state's evidence on the guy. He was a confidential informant on Epstein. And that's part of the reason Trump has to be real careful how he treads. So,
can I show you a video of Billy Sol Estes? It's audio tape. I won't play the whole thing of him. This will explain who he is, but this just came out last year by his grandson. His grandson released this.
Who's Billy Sol?
And this is for who?
This is
Trump
regarding
or...
the JFK assassination.
Okay.
Cliff Carter, former executive of the DNC and a close associate of LBJ, allegedly admits...
Mr. Good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been
sorry, Billy Sol Estes was like LBJ's Roger Stone. He was like a fixer. He was a plumber. Okay. Basically, was what. So he was he was just one of those guys. He got after the assassination, he basically was indicted for fraud on several things and ended up in jail for a very long time. I think it was like 20 years, or 20 or 30 years. And his grandson released this like last year. He said he showed Trump this.
Big touch and go situation.
Allegedly admits LBJ hired Mac Wallace to assassinate JFK.
Mr. Good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic in every way, but we've lived through this far, and I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike, but we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon, as I've always been, and tried to carry out every order that he's ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. And the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did. Well, you know, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would. Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's all for Lyndon, and that's the way it's pretty much always been. Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. If I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I played after he got killed, because, 17 got killed in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me disgusted.
Anyway, so that mystery is pretty much...
Send me the link to that video, and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that unravels what was behind the scenes that was happening and it points to Lyndon Johnson um, at this point.
It, yeah, that he at least helped run point on this whole thing. Now, I think there were deeper reasons behind this, and I mean, well, not that DJ. A lot of this goes back to the moon missions, and like,
Well, the thing that I thought was interesting about that is, the moon mission, they lost all that data. They don't know how they lost all the data.
yeah,
They have none of the data sets.
Yeah, oopsies, we just forgot.
Which
Yeah,
my
and they can't
uncle-
recreate it.
My uncle Chuck for years has been telling me it was fake. And if you can't reproduce, you can't present the data. How was it not fake? Although I have seen pictures of the moon that show that it happened. But when you do that kind of stuff, time and time again, when you lose the information to prove your point, how can people not draw their own conclusion? Same thing with the Warren Commission coming up and doing all this stuff, and it doesn't make any sense, and yet you were supposed to draw a conclusion that you're telling us the truth. You lose all the data for the moon landing, but yet we're supposed to believe you that everything else is true. This guy Epstein mysteriously dies. The video footage disappears. Oh, but he hung himself. Just believe the narrative, and that's the problem. You can't just keep piling these narratives up in front of everyone, time and time again, and before they just. If you can't believe one, why would you believe any of them?
And I think Colin was correct when he said that because of the internet, we are communicating with each other and sharing these ideas and stuff, and we're seeing these things, right? And how can we take things as they are, as we see holes in their narrative? Huge, huge holes. I think that's what Colin said earlier this evening. To a degree, taking it all out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is it's like they want you not to believe your own lying eyes. I've been to the border. I helped work on the border. I've seen people die at the border, but it's 100% secure. Don't worry. You know what? Everyone's all fine down there. There's no one dying down there. Then today, I'm reading about 500 people were caught at the Hyundai plant and pulled out of there. 500, 480 illegal immigrants. We'll call it 500. We'll round off, rounding error. Time and time again, they keep saying this isn't a problem, and yet they keep pulling things in to show you this is a problem. All over the place. The Institute of Peace is only for peace. Yeah, well, they're funding wars. It's
So
the
do you-
Institute of Peace.
Yeah, the Institute of Peace. Yeah. Well, they got Darren Beatty in there now, which is excellent. So that's good news. But so this is what, like, I have this instinct within me that when I feel like I'm under assault or attack, that I have that instinct to fight back, not out of like vengeance, but out of like, that is the safest, that out of survival almost. It's like the safest place for you to be when you're under attack is on the wall, is on the parapet, like pushing back. But you cannot just sit there and take it. It demoralizes you. Two, it puts you in a low information spectrum where you can't see where the attacks are coming from. And yeah, like, they give conspiracy minded people like a bad name because they're, suspicious about everything. But in a world where we're being inundated from all ends, it's like it kind of is warranted at this point. Like, Nate, I mean, the amount of assaults and the full spectrum attack that we're under is, it's almost coming. It feels like it's all sides. It's not even feels. It is like they've got education, they got judicial, they've got the martial forces. I mean, that's probably our safest bet because, I trust vets. I'm thinking of the pillars of a society. You've got your legal, you got your priest class. That's completely captured as far as I'm concerned. Legal's totally captured. You got your legislative or governmental, executive, and then you've got, it's basically those three. And then you've got also information dissemination. Like, how do people make this have the ability to make decisions in this kind of environment? What's real? How do we make investments in this kind of environment? Where do we know where to put our money? Where do we know how to spend our time? And and obviously because it's such an unstable environment, it does you're either going to go insane or you're going to go within and have a spiritual awakening and reconnection with God, because that's your only choice. But you have to. There's no outside force out there that's going to tell you what to do right now. And
but you can't trust any of the outside forces because you.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you can't trust anything they're saying. I'm a Trump guy. I voted for him, on and on. But I've gotten to the point I don't even trust what those people are saying.
There's somebody that told me something that she's kind of crazy, but I asked her, we were talking about a politician, and I was like, do you trust him? And she's like a political activist. She worked for Sid Miller. And I was like, do you trust this guy? And she's like, with what? I'm like, that's pretty wise, actually. That was pretty smart. I've never forgotten that, because it's like, you don't trust anybody with anything. I don't trust myself with everything. What do you trust? What are you willing to give a certain level of trust for a certain aspect from some? Like, do I trust the bank is going to have my account somewhat there for the foreseeable future? Yes, but about 70%. But I'm only giving it. But there's that 30% that I'm like, yeah, they could take it away at any day. But I trust that it's going to be there tomorrow. And then I have a hedge against that 30%, like in my safe, right? Or with anybody else, that I trust this guy to go and do this level of work for a job, but I'm still going to go double check and make sure it's done right. That's how we all operate. We don't trust anything or anybody with anything totally, except God, right? That's it.
And we don't even trust him all that much. If you think about it.
Well, we don't live that way. You're right. But when it comes down to it, all bets are off.
We should be
it's
trusting
like we go to
him.
the big guy. Yeah.
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 And that goes to the question of what do we do? I mean, that's always the question, is like, what do we do about this? And this is obviously a big part of it. It's just getting it out there. But this is different. This is going to be a different answer for everybody. But step one is identifying and understanding the scope and scale of the problem, I feel. And then God moves you in specific places on where to, maintain humanity as an entity on this planet. Because right now, humanity is what's under assault. They don't want us to be human. We don't know what it is to be human. We're relying on what Steiner calls Ahriman, which is this cold robotic force of bureaucracy and data to feed us reality. And it's like, where can we find the real?
Yeah.
That was a question. I don't know. Sorry, that was a long question, but
Yeah, that was
What
a
do we
long
do?
question, yeah. Well, we all have to figure this out for ourselves. We can either go down to the same rabbit hole as everyone else, or we can actually go down the narrow way. Spend time, we need to research and know what's going on in the world, and we also need to know, to be smart, right? Be wise as serpents, harmless as doves, but we also need to be thick with the Almighty, in His Word, talking to Him, whatever that looks like. And we talked about this in the past, where Cody was spending time, and he got this voice saying that he needed to talk to you. He was going to get healing from shooting long guns and that kind of stuff. It's connecting with that, right? And not relying solely on others, but figuring out, how do I connect and rely on God, and what that looks like, and be forward thinking in the eternal kingdom with my wife and my kids and those people around me. How do I forward think that, plus with everything else that's going on, and be able to balance these things out as best as possible? And this is the hard part, because we have to be in our logical brain for the most part. If we are in our emotional side, If we're in an emotional, we fall apart and we're unable to really comprehend. There's a lot of things negatively that happens, and so being men and being these leaders, these servant leaders, we also have to look at how do we do this in a way that we can stay logical in a lot of sense with God and knowing all these things and not fall apart ourselves. And if we do, how we're going to get ourselves back up? How we're going? Who do we lead on? Who is God's going to send us to get us? Because people say God doesn't give us more than we can handle. Well, we are arrogant people, and He does send us more than we can handle because He wants us to reach out and connect with Him because He can get us through, and we need to trust Him more than ourselves. And so there's all these things rolling in, and how do you balance it all out? You don't. It's like a pendulum. You're not going to be centered. You're going to be going like this all the time, and you have to be okay with that because that's what society, this is what the world is, and this is what Satan is mass produced in this world to make it hard to make it a place that it's all gray seemingly, and we have no choices and that kind of stuff. But we do. We have great choices. We have big choices. But getting down into those choices with all the information, that's hard. That's the difficult part, especially as fathers, as men. Go ahead, Cody.
True. Oh, I'm just trying to. Go ahead.
What do we do?
Go.
What do we do, Cody? What's our way out of the wilderness here? Obviously, the spiritual component. Look, we're mortal beings. We're going to die. This isn't like, we don't need to be, I've not given you the spirit of fear. And anytime we feel fear, despair, that's the devil, right? Trying to discourage and demoralize us. And
you got to go like this. The devil. Got to go with the quotation.
Right. But
Sure.
we're going to, we have, God is like, this is just a temporary stage in time, but at the same time, like, I feel a certain responsibility of wanting to, like, they call it, this is going to sound corny, but, the word patriot comes from the word patros, right? Or father, and like the follower of the father, or the lover of your father. And it's like the wanting to take care of the place that you come from and wherever you're born into. Why do all these frauds and things happen? It's because we have really horrible people at every level of government that are, you go through the education system and you don't really know how anything works. You just know how to talk.
They did that deliberately.
The
whole system, when someone explained this to me, that Rockefeller came up and he changed the whole entire educational system. And he brought in the Europeans, the German style. And when he came in, that's the reason you have bells, you have different areas you got to move to after a certain age. You go from this building to that building, different classes. And when you're young, you do it all in one area. You move around. It's because they're training workers.
It's lockers. It's an indoctrination factory.
Yeah,
it's
they're
for
training
efficiency.
you to work in a factory. Yeah, and it's why they have the bell. So you know when to take breaks and to change and move around. And they're training workers, and they're not training for the They're not educating people. They're training you to work.
I don't see how you can be a part of the education system and not damage your child in some way, shape, or form. I don't see a way, and I know that's very uncomfortable because that's very personal for a lot of people. But that's a part of my problem right now. If I'm going to move forward in this, I can't consciously put my children into an egregore like that because it's like I'm giving my agency and theirs over to an entity that it's going to take them over, and potentially. And people are like, well, my kid, like I always heard this argument, my kid knows Jesus and has a relationship with him, they'll be fine. No, they won't. They will not. It is like the school system it's only in hindsight that I knew it was messed up when I was in school, but it was so bad. And now that I'm older and just go back and think about it, it's horrible. It is just a freaking feral madhouse
Well,
of a bunch of kids going through puberty that are raised by demonic parents, for the most part, that don't love them. And you just throw your kids in there and say, good luck. It's crazy.
well, two things have happened. So I took Kylie out of. She got tired of being homeschooled, so we found this called Explorer Academy. I read up on all the curriculum and stuff, so I could get her, show her what it's like to be around other people, how much it sucks to be around. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying all this, and I'll probably end up having to do something like that because I'm sure she'll get
it's
sick
like
of
you
it
have
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm after she's been in there. What 5 weeks? Yeah, 5 weeks, and the amount of emotional roller coaster bullshit is just. I'm about ready to pull her out because I'm just tired of all the different shit.
No, we got to just get with our friends and neighbors and do it ourselves. I don't know another way out of it. Like I mean, thank God I've already found like a group of people. We've all committed to doing that together. Like we're just gonna figure out something else. We're not doing this. It's so stupid.
Yeah. The homeschool network is huge, and
Yes.
it's also very successful, and it's everywhere.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Big
growing
and
so
Rich,
fast.
that guy John Rich.
Yeah,
His dad was so worried about his schooling that he went and made his own schoolhouse.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was watching his interview today, last week or so.
yeah. And we have access to all knowledge that humanity has ever had. The downside is parents don't want to go and learn for themselves because you have to teach yourself in order to teach your kid. But that's the upside to me. I'm excited about that. I'm like, awesome.
And then you also
Get to
have
learn
to
hand
have
in
two incomes to survive in this economy too.
Or you live poor and you work every day that you can, and you just
Yeah.
trust that God's gonna get you through it. But I'm in a weird
does.
and He does, and we gotta figure it out. We gotta work together to make it happen. I mean, it's really what we should have always been doing anyway. It's just the society we have is not conducive to that. But I'm excited for it. I feel like I have such an I get to be such a I get to be a pioneer with many other people in creating a new generation of absolutely just powerful children that are going to come up and not be. I don't see the coming. Like even Gen Z is so much more savvy than any other generation. They're very cynical, kind of. And it actually
look at what impressed me is a couple weeks ago when me and Corey were hanging out. His son has really died in. He's what, 15?
Nope, he's almost 17.
Yeah, 16, 17, and he's really tied in with what's going on. When I was at that age, I was chasing skirts and trying to figure out how to get cars going. It's like,
I think those days are over. They've seen what that leads to, and overall, it's not cool. Is what I feel like. To be like hedonism is just kind of gross. It's starting to become gross to them. I think not that it isn't still there, but not like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was disgusting. I mean, the music, the culture was at its peak in toxicity. I think everything was up for grabs. It was so bad, and anyway, it's getting late. I'm starting to rant.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, this has been a
Education
very powerful thing. How we can kind of tie in all the experiences over the. Well, that we've done 14 podcasts now. So.
No.
Wow, that's a lot.
Let me see. I think that's what it's up to. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, how many content, post, podcasts? Yeah, this is number 14.
Still a
Actually,
baby.
yeah. I think we're getting a little. I think our camera shy side of this whole thing's kind of going away. So
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah,
figuring a lot of stuff out. Last week I really sucked on my audio. I had to go in and do a lot of audio editing. So
Yeah.
I do eventually want to get around to this thing that I want to show you guys because it's like it unlocks so much about what's coming down the road, and it ties into Golden Dome, energy, AI, this new world that's kind of on the horizon and what it may look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started with, I mean, it didn't start with John, but that was a crescendo. It started with JFK. And I think we're going to live
you got
to
to
see.
go back. It didn't start with JFK. It started with
I know,
aliens at Roswell.
It started with the Mayans and the Egyptians, and the Atlanteans. But
There you go. We finally got a tie-in here.
yeah. The Atlantis episode will be fun. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I can't even start talking about that. I'll go off on a tangent. Yeah, I was like, no, I got to hold back.
Yeah.
Hold back. All right, gentlemen, it's been 2 hours. I think we got a lot out. It's been a very, that blew by. I think
Yeah,
that was
real
really fun.
fast.
So,
Yeah.
all right. If you guys enjoy our podcast, tell your friends, tell your family, tell a stranger.
Share, subscribe.
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
I don't care if you
Yeah,
smash
wherever
that
it
button.
is.
Just send it to someone to watch it.
Yeah.
All right. And on that note, thanks for following us down the rabbit hole. Let's go. Oh, wrong button. There we go.